Here you can see the static routes that we have configured till now. The first entry represents the default route to access the internet services. So I'm talking about this route, which has subnet 0.0.0.0/0, and it has gateway IP address 192.168.1.1, and it's using the port number 1 as an exit interface. The second entry is to access 10.10.10.10 IP address, which belongs to the local subnet, and the firewall has a static route for that in its routing database. So that entry we have created right after this static route or the default route. So for that we have the gateway IP address 192.168.150.2, and that IP address is configured on router 2 interface that is directly connected to firewall, and the exit interface for the firewall is port number 3. And the third entry is to access 10.10.10.20/32 IP address, which also belongs to the local subnet, and the firewall has a static route for that also. For that, the gateway IP address 192.168.150.2, and it also uses port number 3 as exit interface. So basically, when any traffic hits the firewall for any subnet or IP, the firewall looks up the routing table and takes appropriate decisions and forward the traffic to the respective peers. If the traffic is coming for internet services, then firewall takes the decision and hand over the traffic to next peer, which has the IP address 192.168.1.1. And if any traffic is coming for 10.10.10.10 or 10.20 IP address, then firewall will hand over the traffic to 192.168.150.2 sub IP address, and that IP address is configured on Cisco router. So let's try to access internet services from the core router, and we'll see again whether we are able to access internet services from there. So let me open the secure CRT, configure terminal, to show IP interface brief. So I have IP address 192.168.150.2 on Ethernet 0/0, and that interface is connected to port number 3 of the firewall. So ping 192.168.150.1, yes, it's reachable. 198.8.8.8. So I'm not able to access internet services. So basically, I have not yet configured a firewall policy that will help the traffic to pass through the firewall. So let's configure the firewall for its first firewall policy. This will help the core router to access the internet services. For that, we need to go to the firewall. Let me log in. Before applying the policy or the rule on the firewall to allow the traffic from local LAN to internet, you must have a few things handy. For example, what could be the ingress interface for the traffic? And what could be the egress interface for the traffic? So for me, according to the design, port number 3 will be ingress interface and port number 1 will be the egress interface. Because when router 3 originates any traffic, it will first hit to the port number 3, and if there is a firewall policy on the firewall, then it will pass through the traffic to port number 1. Apart from this, you must tell the firewall about the source network as well as the destination network. So for the source network, I am very much aware because I have 2 loopback interfaces on core router and 1 subnet which is I have used between router 3 and firewall. So basically 3 subnets I have. According to my design, the source of the traffic is, it could be 10.10.10.10 or 10.10.10.20. These are 2 loopback interfaces, and 192.168.150.2, that IP address is configured on Ethernet 0/0. Also, what type of service that you want to allow for local LAN. So basically, I will only allow ICMP traffic for the local LAN to internet, and it is just for the testing purpose. So first we need to introduce the networks, and later on we will map the networks under the firewall policy. Also, we will map the service or type of the service under the firewall policy. So let's introduce the networks that we need on the firewall as well as the service if it is not there. So my first subnet, it will be 10.10.10.10. So command is, okay, before introducing any network on the firewall, let's review how many networks are available. So command is show firewall address. So we have some network addresses, and those are not really useful for us. We need to introduce the new network for us. So config firewall address is the command. Now you have to use the command edit at local or LAN 1. Enter. Set. We have multiple options. So set subnet, set type, set command, associate interface, color, allow routing, fabric object. So for us it will be a subnet. Then we need to tell the subnet IP address 10.10.10.10 and it will be a /32. That's it. We can go to next and use the command end to come out. Now let's verify one more time whether this subnet has been introduced in the firewall or not. So firewall address, and we can see the subnet 10.10.10.10/32 has been introduced on the firewall. So let me introduce the remaining subnets. Config firewall address, edit LAN 2, set subnet 10.10.10.20/32. Use the command next, edit core ETH0/0 interface IP address. Now set subnet 192.168.150.2/32 and done. Next and end. Let's verify. So firewall address. So we can see all three network has been introduced. So LAN 1, LAN 2 and core interface IP address. So LAN 1 has 10.10.10.10/32. So LAN 2 subnet has 10.10.10.20/32 and the last one is core Ethernet 0/0 IP address, which is 192.168.150.2/32. So let's verify the destination subnet information. So we have already executed the command show firewall address. So there must be a tagline all. So where it is, Gmail, wildcard. Okay, so here we have all. So it means that it will match any subnet. So that keyword will match under the firewall policy. Okay, now it's time to verify the services. Show firewall service and custom. So under the custom, let's see, we have ICMP something. See here we have all ICMP. So we can see what exactly it is. So it says edit all ICMP, category general, set protocol ICMP. That's what we needed. Okay, now it's time to configure the firewall policy. So command is config firewall policy. Enter. Now we are going to introduce the first firewall policy on the firewall. So the command is edit 1. Now you can set the status for this is enable. What could be the name for this firewall policy? That you can define it by using the command set name LAN to internet. Now what could be the ingress interface? So set SRC interface port number 3. because when router originates the ICMP traffic, it will first hit to the firewall port number 3. What could be the egress interface? So egress interface, it will be port number 1. Now what could be the action type? So set action accept, because we want to allow such type of traffic. Set source address, so who is coming and who want to access the internet service. So let me first allow the core router itself to access the internet service. So for that I need to tell core Ethernet 0, and later on we will allow LAN 1 and LAN 2 subnet. Set DST address, it will be all. Set schedule, okay, we want to allow such type of traffic always, so use the keyword always. And what type of traffic it could be? So set service, so we have already checked the service type, which is all ICMP, so all ICMP. Now the next command is whether you want to allow the NAT function for this one. Yes, we want NAT to be enabled. Set NAT enable. And last not the least, you can use the command set comment LAN to internet. It's just a command, nothing much. Okay, type the command next. And if you don't see any error, it means that your firewall policy has been applied successfully on the firewall. Use the command and to come out. That's it. Let's verify the firewall policy. So firewall policy, so we can see the firewall policy, edit rule number 1. So now it's time to verify whether we are able to access the internet service from the router. Ping 8.8.8.8. See, I'm able to access internet. Let's use the packet capture, diagnose, sniffer, packet on port number 3. Let's verify on port number 3 first. Later on we will verify from the port number 1. Okay, we can see ICMP echo that has been originated by 192.168.150.2 for 8.8.8, and we can also see the return traffic, which is echo reply from 8.8.8 to 192.168.150.2. Check the same, so it will be port number 1. Let's originate. See the same type of traffic, but since we have activated the NAT rule, so source of this packet has been changed. So previously it was 192.168.150.2, but now it's 192.168.1.200, and destination remains same. Let's verify this firewall policy on GUI mode. So let's go to the GUI mode. Okay, so click here, policy and object. So let's first verify the objects. We have addresses that we configured. So core Ethernet 0 that has 192.168.150.2/32. That address or the object we created just few minutes before. We also created LAN 1 object as well as the LAN 2 object. So LAN 1 has 10.10.10.10/32 and LAN 2 has 10.10.10.20/32. All right, let's go to the firewall policy. So firewall policy, it says LAN port 321. Okay, yes, and it has the comment or the policy name LAN to internet. So who is the source? Core Ethernet 0/0, which has 192.168.150.2 subnet, and the destination is all, which is 0.0.0/0, and the schedule is it's always on. You can define whether you want to allow only on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or time based also. So I'm not going to make any changes on it because I want such type of traffic to be passed every day or 24/7. Okay, so we can see the service type, which is all ICMP, and XN is accept, net is enabled. Okay, let's move ahead and focus on our topic, which is SSL VPN Web Mode. So let's go back to the CLI mode. Now this time we have to create username as well as the group. Okay, so let's verify whether we have any users available on the FortiGate firewall. So let's verify on the GUI mode first. User and authentication, user definition. So we have guest. Apart from this, there is no user. We can also check the group. We have guest group and we have SSO guest users. Apart from this, we don't have any more users or the groups under this section. Okay, now it's time to create a user first. Let's go to the CLI mode, config user. Okay, let's verify here also. Show user local. So the same settings you can see here that you have seen on in the GUI mode. So let's create a new user here. So config user local. Use the command edit. Tell the name of the user, Techno Cafe. Okay, so user has been added. So we need to tell the password for this user. So use the command set type password, set password. I'm going to use the same password as the username. Now you can verify show. So we have the username Techno Cafe. Type of password is this. So it has been encrypted. Now it's time to come out from here and we'll introduce a user group. So command is config user group. Before that, we can verify how many groups are there. So user group. So we have only two user groups, guest, SSO guest users and guest group. Let's introduce the new group. So config user group, and then we need to use the command edit and you need to tell the group name. So for me, okay, let's use web portal. That's it. Okay, now it's time to add the user under a group. So command is set member. So what was the user? So username is Techno Cafe, or we can use the question mark option. That's it. Click next and use the command end to come out. Let's verify the user group once again. Show user group. So we can see the web portal, a group has been added, and we can see Techno Cafe is the member for this web portal. Let's verify the same on the GUI mode. Let's go to the GUI mode. So user Techno Cafe has been added and the group web portal also added under the group section. Okay, now it's time to configure the IP pool for SSL VPN. This is basically used for FortiClient. So let's configure it. So the command is config firewall address. So we are following the same process that we have used to introduce the object. Add it IP pool, and the pool name is 192.168.150.100 to 200, or yeah, that's fine. And set type IP range, because we want to define the range from 100 to 200. If any VPN user connects to the firewall using the FortiClient, it will get the IP address from this range of the IP address. The next command is to define the comment. So set comment VPN client range. So set associate interface. We can see if there is any interface SSL root. Okay, so set start IP address, which is 192.168.150.100, and the end IP address is 192.168.150.200. Then type the command next and use the command end to come out. Let's verify whether this pool or this object has been added under the firewall address or object section. So show firewall addresses. Yes, we can see the object has been added, and we can verify the same on GUI mode. So policy and object addresses, and we can see the IP pool has been added here. Okay, now it's time to configure web mode. Okay, this is very important part for entire section. So let's go to the CLI. Let's verify if there any config for the web portal. So the command is show VPN SSL web portal. Yes, we can see there is a web portal. It's called full access. Let's delete this one and create a new one. And why I'm doing this? Because the firewall is running with a trial license, and we cannot create more than one web portal using the trial license. So let's delete this one. To delete this one, config VPN SSL portal, and the command would be delete, and we can delete this one, full access. That's it. Next, or we can end. Let's verify one more time. Okay, we don't have any more web portal config. Let's create a new one. So the command is config VPN SSL portal. Okay, what could be the name for the VPN portal? So VPN or SSL VPN web portal. Okay, now the next command is whether you want the web mode or the tunnel mode. If it is web mode, disable the tunnel mode, or if it is tunnel mode, you can disable the web mode, or if you want both, you can activate both of them. So in this series, we are talking about the web mode, so we will disable the tunnel mode. So the command is set tunnel mode disable, that is for IPv4, and we can also disable the tunnel mode for IPv6. So command is set IPv6 tunnel mode disable. Fine, let's activate the web mode. Set web mode enable. We are using IPv4, so that configuration is, or the web mode is for only IPv4 subnet. Okay, set allow user access. So user can access what services they can use it using the web portal. So for me, it will be web, FTP, they can use FTP, they can use telnet, they can use SSH, they can use VNC, also ping. Now you want to make a setting whether the VPN client user can download the FortiClient software. So for that, either you can disable it or you can enable it. So set FortiClient download. We have option disable or enable. If you enable it, they can download. If you disable it, they cannot. So few more settings related to the bookmark. So you can use the display bookmark enable. You can also use this for the group or the user based. User bookmark enable. Set user group bookmark enable. Also you can set display connections. So connection also can be displayed. You can also display the history. Display history. You can also display the status. Okay, well, now you can set the heading. So heading, it would be, or it's kind of banner. So welcome to Techno Cafe portal. That's it. Click next and use the command end. Okay, let's verify the same configuration on GUI mode. Click on VPN, then you have option SSL VPN portal. So you can see the SSL VPN portal has been configured. Tunnel mode is disabled and the web mode is activated. Double click on it if you want to see more information. So name is SSL VPN Web Portal. Portal message is welcome to Techno Cafe portal. So theme is here. You can choose any type of theme. I haven't configured the theme over there, but you have option to choose the theme. So session information that has been activated, show connection launcher that has been activated, show login history that also been activated, bookmark for user that has been activated, and we have disabled the FortiClient download option. Okay, now we have to tweak the SSL settings for the VPN or the web portal. So let's verify the SSL VPN settings here. So you can see multiple settings. Okay, SSL VPN activated, listen on interface we haven't yet configured, listen port, add certificate, HTTP, or there are many options are here. We will configure it from the CLI. Let's go to the CLI and verify the VPN SSL settings from the CLI mode. So the command is show VPN SSL settings, and we have only few settings under this one. Set server certificate, which is none. Set port is 443. All right, let's configure it. So use the command config VPN SSL setting. Set status enable. Now let's configure the cipher. Set cipher. Okay, we have multiple ciphers available and it uses the TLS 1.3 version. So I'm going to use TLS AES 128, this one and this one also, second one and the third one also. Now we have to choose the certificate. If you have root CA certificate, then you can use the root CA certificate in FortiGate firewall for SSL VPN settings. Since I don't have any root CA certificate or third-party certificate server to download the certificate, so I'm using the factory default. So the command is set serve certificate and we can use the factory FortiGate factory. That's it. Set idle time, basic things, how long you want to keep the web session active. So it's 300 seconds. And auth timeout, that you can configure it. I'm using the default settings for this one. Okay, set tunnel IP pool. Okay, we need to tell the tunnel IP pool. So set tunnel IP pool. What was the pool? Okay, we created this one, IP pool 192.168.150, 100 to 200. Okay, so what port number do you want to use it? Set port 8443. Set source interface, which is port number 1. That's the internet facing interface. And set source address. Okay, so to whom you are going to allow to access the web portal. So for me, it could be anyone. So I would use the keyword all. Now set default portal and it will be Techno. It's just a name, Techno Cafe. Okay, sorry. We need to tell the VPN portal name or web portal name here. So SSL VPN web portal. That's it. So it says you are using the factory default certificate for increased security. Fortinet recommends you use a certificate signed by a third-party signing authority. Okay, I don't have any third-party signing authority, so I'm using the default FortiGate certificate. All right, let's verify the same from the GUI. Refresh the page. We can see that the SSL VPN is enabled and the listen port is WAN interface. Port number is 8443 and the URL is 192.168.1.200:8443. That URL we will use in the web browser. Certificate, we will use Fortinet factory default certificate, and idle logout is activated. Inactive time is 300 seconds, and pool has been mapped under the IP range, and web portal has been applied under the settings. Okay, now let's verify whether we are able to access the web portal that we have just now configured. So let me access the web portal from the Firefox, and the URL is 192.168.1.200:8443, and it should be HTTPS. Okay, we still have issue or maybe some configuration we need to apply on the firewall. Okay, let's see. Okay, now let's configure the firewall policy for the SSL VPN users. So you are very much aware how do we create a firewall policy, because we have already created the firewall policy for LAN to internet. So this time we are going to configure the firewall policy for the SSL VPN users. So the command is config firewall policy. So sequence number 1 is already there, so we can use the sequence number 2. So add it 2. We can define the name for the firewall policy. So SSL VPN Web User. What would be the source interface? SSL root. Destination interface, it will be port number 3. Okay, set the accent type accept. Set the source address, and address will be from the pool, IP pool. That's it. And destination address, set DST address. So it will be core Ethernet, LAN 1 and LAN 2. Set schedule always. Set the service. Okay, so service type, it will be all ICMP, and I want SSH and telnet. Okay, do you want net? Yes, I want net to be enabled. Okay, set group. So we need to tell the group. So we have the group name is web portal, that we can map it under the group. That's it. Let's verify the firewall policy again. So firewall policy. So this firewall policy is a general firewall policy that will allow the traffic from LAN to internet. And this firewall policy is dedicated for the web portal, and that will allow the traffic, or that will give the user to access the internal resources. Okay, let me verify one more time whether I am able to access the web portal. Refresh the username. Okay, this time something different. Okay, go to the advanced option, accept the risk and continue, and we have the username. What was the username? So show user local. So we have username is technocafe and the password was same. Let me save it. Okay, let's quickly launch the table. What do you want ping? Okay, let's go and ping the 192.168.150.2. Let's ping it. I'm able to reach, that's fine. Let's ping 10.10.10.10. Yes, it's reachable. 20, it's also reachable. Okay, let's telnet the device. So I will telnet the 10.10.10.20. Click telnet, launch the application. Username is Techno Cafe and the password is also Techno Cafe. I think I need to check the username or the password. So let's go to the router. So run section user. So username is Techno Cafe. That's fine. Let me execute one more time. Techno Cafe. Techno Cafe. Yeah, it's working. Let's verify the SSH, and this time I'm going to SSH 10.10.10.10. Launch. Username is Techno Cafe, password is Techno Cafe, login. See, I got the router access. So basically, instead of a router, you can terminate your session over a jump server, and from the jump server, you can access any device from off the network. So show IP interface brief. You can see the interface information and the loopback information. That's it guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something new from this video. Let me know in the comment box if I explained the topic well or did I make any mistake. I hope we will meet again here and learn something new. I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.